Hello and welcome to my little guide on my budgeting template. Hope you're enjoying it. This came up because I posted in the group that I took my expense tracker from Mint and posted it and created my own with an Excel. A couple people wanted the template. I'm putting it into a template. I tried coming up with instructions, but I think a quick demonstration will help cement some of the kind of inner working knowledges. And I read a comment that, it'd be hard to do a video because of personal stuff, so I just created I use some of my real expenses, I use some of the descriptions and post it, so it's not like stuff I don't mind getting out, and just kind of made some other stuff out. I don't care how much you guys get paid or not, it's just more I don't want too much personal information out on the internet. So, that aside, this is my budget tracker. The little template thing I created for you guys. Please ignore the Twitch window. It's just the easiest way to get the screen recording right. I aspired to be a YouTuber. I Twitch a little bit. And it's just never, not a passion, it was just more of I wanted to do it to make money off it, and that's a terrible way to go, and I didn't have the energy at night. So that aside, this is my template to help you guys start in the right direction for the budgets. And so kind of help track your expenses and kind of, for me, it was a lot better than using Mint because I could actually see it side by side, and if I didn't know the functionality of it, it was kind of my bad, but this way, I kind of like seeing everything in totality. So we have 4 tabs. The first tab is our budget summary. I have formulas written here and the different kinds of periods. You can go back up through 2021, and simply, if you want more data, you just copy and paste it. Copy, and then we can paste data here. Pasting data here. Oh, that's why. So you can copy and insert data. Let's say I wanted to get another year. You copy and insert, right? So that's Control-C, go to where I want it, and insert copy cells. So you can kind of do stuff like that. I have a list of expenses I have personally. These are how I budget against. It is very important that these expenses line up with the categories here and what's coming through on the second tab. Category lookup is going to be the more manual part, but it's probably one of the more important tabs because it feeds our expense history, which will feed our budget summary. So these are the basic ones I have. These are only for like a P&L purpose or profit and loss. Basically expenses that are just like real. Now you're going to be asking, Zach, what are real expenses and not real expenses? What I would say real expenses are like things like your car payment, your entertainment, like subscription, gas, your car repair, your electric. Those are like real things. You're paying them out every month, right? Your not real transactions, I would say, are maybe your credit card payments. Now, this is assuming you're just not paying off massive credit card debt and you're actually utilizing your credit card, because you're going to see your credit card payment come into your credit card but out from your bank account. So they should technically net to zero, so it's not like a real thing, right? Ideally, you're not tracking your credit card spending, or you're tracking your credit card payments as a spend. You're tracking the thing it bought as its own item. You'll see how that's going to play in a little later, right? I had a couple transfers in and out of Robinhood. I don't consider them real transactions, at least on like the expense part. So that's why I kind of have them in as a non-expense transactions. And savings transfers, they're not real expenses. At least they're not going to help you figure out what your savings rate are. So you can play with that a little bit. You can just control copy things, right click insert to move things up if you disagree. Right? So I have, this is just a sum ifs, and this is basically asking, is rent and it being in period 2/1/2021, if there's something on the expense history, it's going to bring it forward. It's kind of like how the magic's going to happen. If we need a new month, we can just copy a new month over. So I'm going to copy the newest month, right click insert, and then I can just change it up here, right? 23. And alternatively, if you add anything, you're just going to want to play with these formulas here. They're not really gauged to anything. Formulas. right? Right click, formulas, right click, right? And the average one, because we added a new one, we can probably do an average, right click, formulas. Copy special, just copy something special rather than just the thing you're copying. I'm just copying the formulas in the Excel. And we can do that. Down here is more important. This tells us if we're funneling all the transactions from the expense tab into this front tab. This line here just sums what we're pulling from, right? This next tab just sums everything in that period only, so it doesn't care about the expense line. It's just if it's in here as a in that period, it's going to sum it. And then this just compares if they're the same number or not. It should be 0. If they're not 0, something in your expense history is wrong, and you can troubleshoot that later. So I kind of created a bit of instructions. Let me just walk through the rest of the tab real quick. So the next thing, the expense history. This is where we're going to be posting our downloads from either Mint or your credit card transaction downloads or your banking account transaction downloads. I kind of wrote little tips here and there. Column F has the X lookup, which kind of just looks up the category. It looks at the description from the bank download and looks them up in our category lookup. We'll get to that tab in a second. And this will just keep our expense categories consistent because these drive from what's listed in column A, the expense line, against the expense category, which is controlled from this tab here. So we're just going to copy everything, our descriptions for the bank, any withdrawals, or everything is a withdrawal in this case. And I list what account. If it comes from my checking account, I'll put checking account. If it comes from one of my credit cards, I'll put like my Quicksilver card, stuff like that. I go by posting date, especially if I have unposted items. You can post not post it, but you can keep a period in there. So I would just match the posting date. In this period here, something we're going to control. I would just make it the first day of the month of the posting date. So let's say I have an expense 7/15/2023. It's going to be in the period 7/1/2023. And this period is important because it's gonna decide where it pulls forward onto the first tab. So the budget summary is looking at the period and the expense line. Yeah, the period and the expense category, right? So that's why we just want to kind of keep it consistent. And then this last thing is once we have a bunch of descriptions here on this tab, the expense history, we're going to want to copy them into the expense category, and then we're only want to copy them, not the expense category, into the description to description, and then we're going to want to filter out duplicates, remove duplicates, continue with current selection. And then this way, we're only going to have unique items that we're going to assign an expense category, which is ideally one of these, and then it will flow to this page, which will flow to this. And I kind of have basic instructions here. For my example, I'm going to input, I created expense examples, so it's not my personal data, but it's driven in, it's based off my personal data, but it's not really my personal data. I just made kind of fake numbers, but ballpark real numbers. And I kind of just put things, this is how you would see a download from either Mint or when you're banking, right? So if we look at the instructions here on the left, you can kind of see the steps I go through to update the sheet. Now, this is going to require basic to intermediate knowledge of Excel functionality. What do I mean by that? Basic is how do you sort, how do you copy, how do you paste, how do you make more columns? They're basic. Intermediate is if you delete one of these formulas and have to rewrite it, I would just not mess with the formulas. That's it. You can copy them forward. I would Google how to do the sum ifs in the XLOOKUP. Those are the two big formulas driving a lot of this. They kind of make this a little bit easier. But once you get through those, you should be fine. So let us start going through the instructions line by line. So hi, I hope this budget template helps point you in the right direction of tracking your expenses. This is try to get away from Mint. So first is we're going to want to download our transactions from the bank transactions, your credit card transactions, or your Mint transactions if you're transferring. I know Mint I had tied to my retirement accounts, my bank, my car loan, my student loan. So I had extra data there which I had to play with, which is why I kind of have like 401k transfers, Robinhood transfers, or Roth IRA transfers, because they weren't really expenses in terms of like real expenses. They could be outflows, and a cash flow is a little bit different, but I kind of want to know what my expenses are, what my income is, and what the leftover is, right? So we want really just expenses. So you're going to download transactions from the bank. I know on Mint you can export your transactions for whatever period you want to do. I exported all of them. I had a lot of transactions, 2,165, I think. So I had to go through a lot of stuff. My bank, I can only download 90 days on my PNC checking account, but my credit card statements, I can go back a little further, so I was limited to only a couple months personally. But then I used Mint for the rest because Mint just grabbed everything else for me, which is why I have like a split formatting in my original template. So you're going to want to copy, or you're going to want to download your template, and it's going to look something like this on the right. You're going to see a transaction date, posted date, a description, and hopefully something that says withdrawals or withdrawals and deposits. So what do we want to do with this? So you're going to download something like this. For my Capital One transactions, I noticed that the posted date, because of the CVS format, it gave me a really bogus date. It had like rogue spaces and maybe a apostrophe here, and it's not gonna sort as a date. Kind of bad, right? It's gonna look at it like a text or something. So in this case, I would just type over it, and if you see a lot of these, you can just copy this. Let's say I don't like this bogus formatting here, right? You can do Control F to do the find and replace, and go to find and replace. You're gonna find what thing we want to replace with the real thing we want to replace here, like that, right? And hit replace. So I'm just gonna fix it for you. Hopefully put it into the date format we want. All right, so we got our list of expenses. I created this. It's probably going to mimic what you're going to see off of Mint. And Mint, unfortunately, gives you everything in positive values, which is a little bad here. We don't want positive values for everything. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my expense history tab, and I'm going to copy as I need to. So I'm going to take my posted date and put in my posted date. I copy value. Highlight, right click, hit copy, go to where you want, right click, and copy values. On your description, we're going to want to do the same thing. To make this easier, an Excel keyboard shortcut, if you hit Shift, End, and then the arrow button, it will highlight all of it without dragging. You can also drag and drop too. So I will copy that. I would right click and copy as values here. Nope, put in the wrong spot. You want to put it in the description. The account, Mint is going to give you a bunch of accounts of where this could be, whether it's like a credit card account, or for instance, I have a Quicksilver, so it gave me my Quicksilver account. It could be your main bank account, stuff like that. So you're going to want to name it here so you know what account we have to update later. I have 3 credit cards, and my regular bank account I have to download transactions from, and maybe my savings account if I want to download the interest in, right? Mint does that automatically going forward. It's not going to, so you're going to have to go to each account. So it could be a couple accounts, up to 10 or something. So I'm just going to call all of these Quicksilver for lack of something better. And this is just important for you so you know what account we're going to load. Now, the withdrawals are going to have our numbers. I'm going to copy all of these. I'm going to paste them here. I like copying as values. It should be set as currency. If not, highlight the whole row by going to the row and clicking it, and then we can do a little comma button for the comma style. Boom. All right, and we can exit that. I'm going to make this big. Can you see it? I think you can see it. Let me zoom in a bit. That'll probably be a little easier. I have a giant screen. I have a 32-inch screen, so my apologies. so now what you're going to say is, Zach, this is cool, but it's giving me NAs for my expense category. This is where I'm going to tell you, hang on, young Padawan. So a bit of housekeeping we got to do is we're going to take our description. We're going to highlight all our descriptions, right? You're going to copy them. You're going to go into your categories tab, and then you're going to copy them into the description here. Okay? We are on step 3 now. Step 3 or 4, because I'm doing this a little out of order. We're going to fix this part here. So we're going to copy all our descriptions in from the bank. Ideally, the bank is going to give you the same description month in and month out. So once we label it once, going forward, when we drop it in, it should label it automatically through the XLOOKUP I have dragging here. Ideally, have it going to column 5,000 so you can drag lower 8,000. All right. So note what this function is basically saying. It's saying, hey, look up D6, look up everything in this array here, column A, and return something that's in column B. That's all this is doing here. All right, and right now it sees something here, so it's giving me a value, but it's nothing. So it's giving me nothing. So the next step we're going to do is on our categories lookup, we're going to highlight all of these that we just pasted. I'm just going to lock this. What I do is to lock a screen in your view, go to where you want to lock it at, go to view, go to freeze panes, go to freeze panes. So I'm going to take all this, highlight it. Now we're going to just want to filter out all our unique values. So we're going to go to data. We're going to go to remove duplicates in data tools. And then we're going to do with current selection only. So we're going to remove our duplicates. Okay. I also like to just sort them from A to B. Really don't. Right. So now based off these descriptions, and you might have to look at, based off these descriptions, we should be able to say what these are definitively. Now, to label an expense, we're going to want to go to our expense labels here. So when you get this template, you can figure out what expense lines you want. You can rename these. But once you rename them once, you're going to have to be consistent with them. These are what's driving all the formulas. I have my base ones here I like. So I'm just going to move them over here so I know what I'm looking at, right? If you didn't want to do it this way, let's say, Zach, I don't want to copy everything because I'm looking down the barrel with 3,000 transactions. But I'm like, okay, cool. So you can split this into 2 screens with one Excel document. If you go to View, go to New Window. Now, if you hit the Windows right and Windows left, you can break it into 2 screens. And then I can go on this side, and I can look at my expense lines without needing them copied, right? Let's just zoom in. I'm just gonna flip sides here. There we go. Right? Whatever. So what I'm going to do is debit HFMA. I know that's my car pay. So you just want to copy and paste directly. Copy and paste in here. Because the expense lines are needed. So we copied our description onto what I know is my car payment because it's Hyundai HMF USA. And then if I look on the second tab, I'll make this bigger so we can see. You can see it's starting to bring up, hey, these transactions, it knows they are my car payment. Right? Then we can go down the list here. Right? This is PPL, that's Pennsylvania Electric. Applebee's is food. AT&T is a cell. This is credit redemption reward. This is when I did a credit card reward. Grubhub is food. Now that I kind of have a list going, you can start typing and it should start filling in for you. If not, just keep copying and keep pasting, right? This is an interest payment, so I'm just going to look at it as interest income. Don't like the formatting, hit your little format painter here and just fix that. Interest income from monthly interest paid. That ain't good. Oh, that's why. Let me fix that. I had rogue formatting. Rogue formatting. Alright, cool. That formatting. Good. Now I can keep going. This is an online credit card payment I made. So I'm going to label it as credit card payment. And this is one of those expenses I was talking to you about that I don't like it being as a part of my expense transactions, because the expense was actually the food I put on it or the gas I put on it. It wasn't the credit card payment. But if credit cards are a type of loan, like I have student loans, that's the S loan, then you can put it up there, but we just won't have the other side of the transaction go. So you're going to have to play with that a little bit for what makes sense for you. This is paycheck, so I can put paycheck here. My paycheck normally says something else. Name of the company, name of the payroll provider, a bunch of numbers. Almost every month it's something different, ironically enough, so you might have to refill this in every month. Any new transactions we have that don't get found on a month going forward, you're just going to have to copy the new ones in here and label them. And that's the only thing we're going to have to, that's the only housekeeping we're going to have to do going forward, hopefully, right? So this is PayPal Healthwell. I am a little lazy and I put all these subscriptions and extra things, I put the entry. So Hulu, HBO Max, Spotify, Steam Games, Peacock. Giant is a food place for me. Speedway is gas. Speedway is gas and snacks, but Mint always saw Speedway as one location, so I have my gas budget with gas and snacks. But I know that personally. If you need to split it out, you can split it out. It's a little harder going forward. I don't split transactions though. If I go to Walmart, that's why my food is like foods and paper products, because I'm not splitting out paper products. You could totally do that. It's going to make it a little more complicated. All right. This is Google. This is YouTube. So that's entertainment. I can just copy that. This is my rent payment. I renamed a couple of these things just so I can chat with you guys about it, right? Vanguard Index Fund. I believe this was a 401k transfer. I'm just going to put that there. That's not a real expense to me because I'm looking at after tax things, and this was a pre-tax item. That was a payroll deduction, but since Mint tied everything together, you're going to see these, so you're going to want to deal with that. This is, oh, I don't understand what this transaction is. Viac and 315. So if you don't know what something is, we can copy it. We can go to our expense history. We can find it, and then we can see what date it was. 215. Oh yeah, I put tires on my car. It was more expensive than this, but that's how you can kind of figure out. Okay, so then this is a car repair, right? And then food is Walmart. Cool. So now that we figured out all of our unique categories, let's make this bigger. Now we see our expense categories are filled. The next thing we're going to do is sort it by the newest, our oldest to newest, right? And this is going to give us all nice and pretty. Next thing we want to do is, and I messed up my label, is I did number 4 already. We are going to want to go back to 2, and we're going to have to fill in our period. The period I do is just the first day of the month, because in another format this is like June 2023, but I'm not doing that. So I just have it 6/1/2021 or 6/1/2022. So we're going to want to start just filling stuff in now, right? So this is going to be 6/1/2023 because it's the first of the month. I'm going to do that for all my June transactions. All my July transactions, I'm going to do the same. All my August transactions, we're going to go the same. And all my September transactions, we're going to do the same. And then all my October transactions. Forget what. Cool. Now we have our expense history fully figured out. We have everything broken out by period. We know what accounts we have to update. We have our descriptions from the bank. We have our withdrawals. And then we have our expense categories here. And any new categories it can't find, we add the descriptions down here and just label, right? Perfection. Now I want to lock this. Freeze panes, go to freeze. Sometimes you lose your freeze, so you gotta split screens like I did. Bigger. Cool. Now this is starting to fill in our stuff, which is really good, right? So it's finding the rent for this period and it's throwing it here. Now we can see what our rent is. We can see our food kind of skyrocketed. We can see our car payments consistent. Our entertainment is up and down. Right, our gas is super low, except for September. We were traveling. Car repair, the car broke. Electric stepping up slowly. Cell phones the same-ish, right? Our paycheck, we can see how much we're getting paid. Now down here, I have a loss and gain, and this is formatted. Red means bad, and green means good. So one thing we didn't do on our expense history, and this is how you can tell, is we have less expense than we got paid. So we should have a green negative number, right? All of our expenses less what we put in. So what we didn't do is we didn't do instruction 5. Income should be negative. Because of the way I have the math going forward, income should be negative. So we're going to want to go to our expense history. We're going to want to sort by expense category. I'm going to do largest to smallest. Because I have a lot of extra stuff down here, I've been copying the formula on my end. So you can delete these or not. But if you need a formula, you can just copy it there. Alright, that's how you fix it. So everything that I know is an income, I'm going to want to make it a negative number so this front page makes sense, right? Because this is an expense, but it's looking at it like an expense right now. So we can just, I know my paycheck, that's an income for me. So let me make all these numbers negative. Interest income, okay, that's a negative number for me too. So if you do negative into the other cell here, it'll turn into a negative number. You can hit this little box down there and drag, copy, paste as values, and delete that. Good. And I keep scanning, Credit card rewards. Technically, that's income to me. It's positive money. So I'm just going to turn these that. Delete that. If you're coming from Mint, you're going to see credit card payments. You're going to see the payment coming out of your bank account and the payment applying to your credit card. So they're going to both be positive numbers. And it's instead of trying to figure out which one is what, I don't have credit card payment as a thing showing as a expense transaction up here. So I put it down here. And in this world, my credit card payment should be in one account and out the other account. It should be the same for every month. So it should be net zero. Because I'm just effectively moving money from one account to another account. If you want to show credit card payments as an expense, you're just going to have to delete 1/2 the entry, right? So whatever entry is giving the one side income effectively. So when we're lowering our balance, we're paying ourselves on the credit card. So I would delete it out of that side and just show the expense coming from the bank account. That's what I would do. In my world here, though, I am showing it as a non-expense transaction, so I'm not gonna worry what this is net effect, right? All I'm going to do credit card payment, adding to my. You turn that down a bit, huh? And then 401k transfer. It's really not an expense to me, but I'm just gonna keep it history because it gave us all of that. So once we fix that, we can go back to our area, old list. And then if we go on our front page, we see we have green numbers because we have way more expense, way more income than we had expense, right? So knowing this here, we can kind of see what our gain and loss is through the month. I have a couple averages and totals here. This is totaling everything in 21-21, 2022, and 2023. You can play with these formulas here and expand them and retract them. You can also do something like this plus this plus this plus this. It doesn't have to be sexy, right? It just has to work. So some basic Excel can go a long way. So it's just kind of giving us what my totals are, and it's going to help you figure out, okay, what's your highest amount, what's your highest amount. I wouldn't suggest sorting this, but I don't see how you can I don't see how it would screw up, so I wouldn't sort it. If you want to analyze it, you can just kind of copy it, right? I would copy it here. I would copy it here, and then you can do it. All right. Let me exit out of that. Now this is the average per month. I kind of like this because this is going to help me kind of create like a budget for myself. Now obviously the only bad thing was the average per month. There's no expense in there, right? So obviously my averages are looking bad because it shows a 0 number. So you can just drag it and kind of fix it here. For this example, I'm just going to show my average 6-month average, right? So you're gonna have to play with how the average looks. So you can kind of see what your averages are. You can kind of see, are we up, down, left, or right, right? Our average paycheck is 30,000. Rent is 14,000. That makes sense. Our average food has been 367. Obviously not 1,200. Okay. So you can kind of use your averages like that to kind of get like a baseline of what your stuff should be. And here is what I kind of like, because this is kind of how I'm figuring out. This is kind of like a quick maybe budget analysis you can do. Is so we have our current period. Let's say I want to look at October's period. We can just write October 1st, 2023 is going to bring up all of our expenses from there. We're not copying, it's just looking them up because it has its own formula. And then we can be like, okay, let's create a budget, right? So we know based off our average and what we know it to be from the previous month, our rent should be that, right? Food budget should be lower. Let's see if we can do a budget of like 600, right? Our payment, it's consistent, so we're going to keep that. Our entertainment looks like it's up and down, but maybe it should be like $80. We don't want it to be more. We can set ourselves a budget there. Our gas is up and down. We had a couple high months, low months. Let's just call it 90. For car repair, why we only had one car repair item, it's not going to be good to do. It's the same of our 6-month average because it has the zeros. It's 43. Let's just put like a slush budget in there. Electric, it's kind of going up, so let's pad it at 120, right? No internet in this example. Our cell phone's 118 is the same, going down, going down. What should our income be? It's 3,000, right? Do negative 3,000, right? And we're getting some interest income. Okay, we can budget for it if you want. I personally don't, so I wouldn't budget interest income, right? And then we can kind of see against our budget, we can do a variance. Obviously, red is bad and green is good because negative numbers mean we have less expense, right? It's kind of the methodology there. And then we can kind of see, okay, we overspent in this month here, but going forward, let's see if we can kick that down. I get paid in 2 pay periods. I like to divide by 2 most times. Pull half, not pull all my rent out of one and get left with nothing, unless you have like a large cushion where you can effectively do that, but I don't, so I kind of just pull by half and see where I'm going, right? So this is saying, if I sum up, this is saying I can budget for budgeting $253 as a savings, right? We're not spending that much, right? So that means $126 a month we could put towards something, or towards savings if we want. We could put towards something else. But this kind of gives us an idea of, okay, in June, hey, I didn't spend $876 a month paycheck, right? But, oh no, in October, I spent more money than I made. So this is going to kind of want to give you that analysis there of what's going on with what. Down here, it's important to make sure we're finding all of our trends. So this formula in 29 sums everything up top, and this formula searches the expense history for everything in that period only. It doesn't care about the expense line. So let's say there was a let's say I forgot to label something in the expense category, right? In August, I have a total here when it should be 0, which my control saying I have something that's not flowing through the top. So I would take a look and August. So we can sort by our August period in 23. I can go, oh no, this is empty because I deleted it. Let me copy my formula down. Right? And then going forward, what we can do is every time we get new expenses, we can just add them here. If it's the same expense, it's gonna look up automatically. If it's not, new expense, right? We're just gonna have to add new expense in our category lookup and call it something. Let's call new expense entertainment. And there we go, right? And we can call this our November period 11/2/2023, and this can be coming from our checking account. Right? And then that way, we started something new. And that's kind of how to use it. It can be useful if you're super new to Excel. It's going to be a little hard to try to learn if you know enough Excel to, like, I guess quote unquote be dangerous, like you know enough to use it. It's going to be very useful for you. And then that's kind of the song and dance with it. The instruction kind of did to the best of my ability to help you figure out. If not, you can always rewatch this video again. Cheers to everybody rewatching it because I'm terrible at explaining it. But personally, finding it in this table format helped me figure out my food budget or other things I can change. Then I kind of did like a budget analysis here and tweak my budget a little bit. So it's a tool you can use to help. But I hope you liked the video. I appreciate you guys for taking an interest and hope your budgeting goes. All right, bye.